Hey, I'm Rita.
And I'm Lee.
And welcome to the Me For Her podcast.
We are two gay girls living polar opposite lives on different sides of the country, here to talk shit and share with you our experiences between 20 and 30.
Welcome back to episode 35 of the Me For Her podcast. And today we are joined by a very special guest all the way from Denver, Colorado in the United States. She is the founder of the Lesbian Couples Institute, and her mission is to empower queer women to have lasting, loving, and healthy relationships. So welcome to the show, Dr. Lynda Spann.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here, and please just call me Lynda.
Okay, you got it, Lynda. No problems at all. Is it true that you've helped around 600 couples over the last 20 years?
I have. Not all of them have been queer couples, but I've helped probably more than 600. Yeah, I've been at this a long time.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I can't wait to hear all of your stories. But I guess I just wanted to make sure before I made the assumption, but you yourself are a member of the queer community?
I am. I am a lifetime member.
Oh, love it. Well, one of our favorite questions that we like to ask our guests is, when did you first realize that you had feelings of attraction to women? Would you mind sharing?
I know, let's see, I would have been in sixth grade in American grades. I must have been probably 13 years old, 14 when I was aware of the feelings, but I didn't make any sense of it until I was 19.
Yeah, right. And how was that first experience for you? Did it sort of click everything into place?
Well, my first real experience when I was 19, it clicked things into place and then brought up a whole, truckload of dilemma and some fear and, the whole roller coaster of emotions that comes along with wow, I think I might be lesbian.
Yeah, I can imagine. We've actually had a lot of people who have discovered our pod from one way or another, all across the world. I mean, we're based in Australia, but we do get stats of people downloading and listening in from all over the world, and it's so cool to hear so many similar stories about people discovering their sexualities, and also so many different stories too, right? I mean, you would be in the same position.
Yeah. There's a big variety, and what I love is just seeing that in some ways it's getting easier for the newer generations. I'm dating myself, but I didn't really realize I was lesbian until must have been 1982. And wow. It was pretty different back then.
Absolutely. I can imagine. How old were you then?
That's when I was 19, and when it all really, I was going to say it came together, and no pun intended, but
no, that's very cool. So now, why don't you tell me a little bit about the Lesbian Couples Institute, which you founded?
I would love to. I founded this place, both local and virtual, about almost 3 years ago in 2018, and I just felt very sort of called and passionate about creating a space for women like us all over the world to get relationship help. So it's designed mostly for women that have been in relationships and need to revamp their relationship, or need some help to get right side up, or to bring passion back in. And so I have a local counseling practice in Denver, Colorado, and sometimes women do travel from other places in the U.S. for a private lesbian couples retreat. So that's the couple and me meeting for a full day or two. And recently I launched an online group coaching program for lesbians all over the world.
Wow, that's so cool and so well needed. I love that you put on the website that you understand U-Hauling and all the and all the lesbian jokes that not necessarily too many heterosexual counselors would, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So couple counseling, I mean, is it what we see on the TV, or is there more to it?
Oh, I think Hollywood has only done a so-so job with the whole relationship. And there's a whole gamut of counselors. There's counselors that really specialize in individual therapy, but try to do couples therapy. And there's counselors that have a couple of years of postgraduate training. And then there's PhD level therapists with lots of training and experience. I love it. I think I'm a little bit of a therapy junkie myself. I think I've been in therapy, and I think it's just a wonderful opportunity for both personal and relationship growth.
No,
So
totally.
it's not quite as cheesy as it looks like on TV.
Okay, well that's good to know. I mean, I'm quite cheesy as a person, so I don't mind. But I know what you mean. I know what you mean for sure. Now, have you worked with many Aussies or Kiwis?
I have not yet. I can't
Um,
wait to though.
Very cool. No, that's awesome. And I guess you must deal with a lot of different couples all over the world, but would you say that there's a typical kind of divorce rate in married lesbian couples that you've noticed, or what are the common issues that sort of come up for lesbian and queer couples?
Yeah, I was just talking to someone recently about how sad I felt when gay marriage was finally legalized here,
Hmm.
and then the divorce rate for lesbian couples went higher than for heterosexual couples.
Oh man.
And I was really saddened by that. And one of the things I want so badly through the Lesbian Couples Institute is to get that divorce rate down so that we can say, hey, we know how to do marriage.
Hmm.
Um, I think part of that is that finally, because we were able to get married, that there wasn't quite as much forethought into it. It was like, wow, we better do this while we can. And so some couples that weren't quite ready for marriage or perhaps ill-suited and ended up tying the knot prematurely. Um, but yeah, I do. There are some common threads in relationships that lead people eventually to breaking up
Hmm.
and divorcing.
No, that's understandable. Now, I've recently entered into a bit of a whirlwind romance, and I know that lesbians are sort of renowned for, U-hauling and jumping in with 2 feet in quickly. But it's funny speaking to some friends. Like I've always thought, like in an instant connection and fireworks and stuff like that, and that's
Yes.
something that I've experienced, with this particular lucky lady. And I want to know your opinion on if you think that, like, when you know, or is there more to it?
No, I think that sometimes when you know,
Yeah.
and congratulations, the beginning of a relationship is one of the most exquisite experiences on earth. So I'm so happy for you that you're getting to enjoy that. Um, and I I have no idea how old you are, but I don't think you're 19 anymore. So you have some life experience under your belt that's going to be helpful too. Um, yeah, enjoy the sparks and you know, if you're on the lookout for the red flags that indicate, oh, this probably isn't a good match.
Yep.
Um, as long as you're open to seeing that, you'll be okay.
Hmm.
And if you have that feeling in your gut that wow, this is a really good match, then you can relax into that and honor that.
Very cool. That's what I did. So
Yay,
sorry
good.
to say that. I didn't prime you for that answer, but no, that's very cool. But I guess speaking of red flags, what are some of the most common ones that queer women should look out for, or women in general, to be honest?
Uh, I think a red flag is if if your partner or the other person that you're beginning to date is so self-centered that it tips into that range of narcissism,
Mhm.
because that is something that doesn't change easily in a
Mm.
person. And so you want to see that the other person is um, has a spirit of giving and sharing and being willing to be vulnerable, and that doesn't get super upset if you end up stepping on their toes somehow unintentionally. So that's a red flag. I think if substance abuse is off the chart, a lot of divorces come about because of addictions or really severe alcoholism. So you want to be on the lookout for that. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to enjoy a social life that might include substances, but If somebody really has a problem with that, that's a big red flag.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair enough.
Yeah. And I think for as a group, for lesbians, there is going to be that very powerful early attraction and feeling like, man, we're so similar. That's not a red flag. That's a normal part of a relationship. The red flag is later on, in a year and a half or 2 years, if one of you isn't tolerating a little bit of separateness of, yeah, we're back, our feet are on the ground. We don't have oxytocin pumping through our veins quite as much. And we realize, oh yeah, we're two different people. And we're going to honor that, and we're going to support that, and be each other's fan when it comes to that personal individuation and self-growth. So not tolerating that is a red flag.
Yeah, I think personally, I think it's really important to have your own lives, your own identities, your own networks to spend time with. I think that can be quite common with lesbians, right? Because you're all in from the start, and you sort of get mushed together straight from the start, and then you sort of lose sense of who you are, right? Is that quite
yes, and over time that really, how do I want to say it? It makes a relationship a bit boring and stagnant, and it just takes any sizzle right out of it.
Yeah.
The way that you keep that aliveness is actually by having that individuation, that self-expression.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And now I think I think most of us probably heard this expression first used on the L word, but lesbian bed death. Can you?
Yeah. I have a love-hate relationship with that term.
Talk us through it. Go
on. I'm a very visual person, and when I was first reading about lesbian bed death, I was simultaneously learning about the tradition of Dia de los Muertos in Mexico and South America, and I don't know, you've seen these skulls and that sort of thing. And so I got that image of two skeletons in a bed together, got in my brain when I heard that term. And so I've had a hard time shaking that visual in my own head. The research around this indicates that of all types of couples, lesbian couples, their sexual frequency, we'll call it frequency, diminishes more quickly than other couples, but it doesn't have to. And so that's what the term is referring to, is that over time, many lesbian couples end up having less sexual intimacy. And so there's a death of the bedroom intimacy.
But that happens to heterosexual couples too.
It
right?
does. It happens to women. First of all, testosterone is what drives that sexual desire that's spontaneous, more so than other hormones. And you have two women going through perimenopause at the same time, or menopause, and our hormones are just tanking. So there's some physiological reasons for that, and I think there's a little bit less of that in heterosexual couples, again, because there's a man with testosterone that's still driving the sexual relationship, or the initiation of it.
Yeah, makes sense.
It's more about initiation, really. It's about having spontaneous desire. The great thing is that in addition to spontaneous desire, we have responsive desire. And so as long as two women can make it to the bedroom and just start fooling around a little bit, it'll come on board. Sometimes couples have to plan for that. Make sure it happens.
And do you think there's hope? I mean, I'm sure a lot of couples everywhere sort of get to a point a few years into their relationships where they think, crap, are we actually meant to be together? Like intimacy's dropped, or, things aren't as great as they were at the start. Is there a road back to the right path for them?
Yes, absolutely. I wouldn't do what I do, my life work, if I didn't know that there was a path back. And yet you're right. It's a common experience for many people. And some of that is just that life gets busy, especially if a couple goes from being a couple to having children and having a family and just all the busyness that comes with parenting and little ones. And if they're childless by choice, typically they're dual career couples,
Yeah.
very busy with work and outside interests. And um, it's a very typical sort of experience that has to be navigated. Um,
So you're telling me there's still a chance?
there is still a chance. Yeah.
Very, very cool. Hey, I hope you don't mind, but I told our audience on our Instagram channel that you were coming on the show, and we've had quite a few messages of
Oh,
people
cool.
for advice. So I might call this segment the Ask Dr. Lynda section.
Yes.
Mind if I fire a few questions away at you?
I would love it.
Excellent, cool. So they're all anonymous, so I won't say who sent them in. But the first one we've got is, what are some tips on getting your sex life back on track after it has fizzled out a bit?
See, it's a hot topic.
Yes.
One of the tips is to acknowledge that you may have some anxiety and some feeling awkwardness about heading back into that intimate space, and live with it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So make a decision to head back to the bedroom, get naked together, and just start making out.
Mm-hmm.
The feelings will come on board, and so you have to tolerate. Oh, this feels weird, and we haven't done it in a long time. Um, so tolerate it.
You
Do
got to
do
stop
it
fighting,
anyway.
right?
The feelings will follow the action. A lot of times we wait for the feeling before we move into the action, and then it doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
But if you make a decision and say, you know what, let's just do this. Um, that's one tip. If both women are willing, really it's what it takes is willingness. The other thing that gets in the way very frequently is a feeling of emotional disconnection.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't the case for everybody, but for many women, if I don't feel connected emotionally, then I don't want to have sex.
Totally.
And so if that's what's on board, then you have to put effort into emotional reconnection. So things like, let's agree to stop talking about the things that we're fighting about.
Yeah.
Let's have fun together. Let's go to a comedy show and laugh our butts off.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make it a point to give each other 5 hugs a day for the next week and see what happens. So really a letting down of the guard and moving back toward each other with the things that used to work to help you feel connected. Affection, conversation, play, laughter, uh, back rubs.
Mm-hmm. I love it. That's
Yeah.
very cool. I like especially the part you mentioned about the emotional connection, because I'm sure
Yes.
people relate to that. Intimacy is the last thing on their mind if you feel disconnected from your
Yeah.
partner.
Yeah, so
That's
really putting the effort into the emotional connection. Now, if you feel sometimes couples feel very emotionally connected, and yet there's not sex happening. And so for those couples, then it's a matter of, well, let's let's try this. Let's experiment with this. Let's take the goal of orgasm off the table or off the bed, and just play in that sensual sexual space without the expectation.
yeah, I like that. Awesome. Okay, next question.
Yep.
What are some tips on blending two families with different parenting styles?
Blended families are challenging. Um, I talked to a couple yesterday that is on the brink of breaking up because they haven't negotiated this well.
Mm,
So I think that regardless of the age of the children, as long as they're verbal, having some conversations that this is going to be different. We're blending families. We want to hear from you, our children, about how this is going. Maybe we're going to have a weekly meeting, in quotes, meeting where we get together and we talk about our feelings and what we want and what's working and what's not. I think it's very valuable that the the parent the parent of their children, right? Not the step parent, but that for a couple of years, that step parents don't step into a highly disciplinary role, that they leave that to the original parent for a couple of years. That, and for those first 2 years, what the step parent is trying to do is just build a very loving, supporting, friendly relationship with their stepchildren, and not really get into a power difference with them just yet. It's really important to build a trust in that, and that's founded on love and safety and familiarity. So that's a tip. Wait a couple of years before you start, acting like a parent to your stepkids in terms of discipline.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. And the final question is, any advice on how to deal with the inner battle of being married to a man but in love with a woman? Which, to be honest with you, we hear a lot coming through our messages, women of all ages.
My heart is right there with you. That creates such an internal dilemma. I think that getting support through a counselor or a trusted mentor, good friend. So having some support, a sounding board, somebody that you can talk through it with. And I think that ultimately, I believe that speaking our truth is what sets us on the path of freedom. And that can be done with love and poise and dignity, and also that vulnerability of I'm going to be true to myself. So it can be navigated.
I spoke to someone recently about this particular topic, and they were saying to me, they absolutely adore their husband.
Yeah.
They're best friends. They're a great parent, but there's just an inner calling, right? That's demanding their attention, and it's just an awful position to be in. But I almost felt like, obviously easy for me to say, right? I'm not in the situation, but surely the male husband in the picture, like, he deserves a fulfilling relationship too, right?
Yeah. It is. Yes, it's a grief process, but on the other side of it, then both of the individuals in the couple have a chance to feel much more fulfilled and in line with their next partner.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to go through, but I think necessary. Because to stay in a marriage where you admire and love and respect the father of your children or your husband, but you're sexually attracted and emotionally more attracted to a woman, it's just too much to sacrifice.
Absolutely. But I know, obviously speaking from experience, just like you do, once you do find that partner who you're emotionally, physically, intimately attracted to, it's amazing, right?
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, Dr. Spann, that's pretty much all the questions that came into our direct messages. I did want to give everyone the opportunity to reach out and work with you because your advice has been amazing. So how can people reach out to you and get in touch and hear a little bit more about your online program?
The best way is to go to our website, which is lesbiancoupleinstitute.com. And there's a place there to fill out you can go to a contact and put your information, your name and phone number and email, and then I will personally reach back out to whoever fills out a contact form, and I would be delighted. One of the things I do is offer an initial free consultation where I actually hop on a Zoom call with women that are interested in gathering more information and seeing if we might work together. So that's something I enjoy doing, and it helps me know how to steer women to get the right help.
That's so cool. And I highly recommend it to anyone thinking about it. I started seeing a therapist for the first time last year, not relationship specific, but I just think it's wonderful. And everyone, if you've got access to, give it a go. It's like talking to your best friend, but cutting them some slack so they don't have to hear your problems. And
Yeah.
and yeah, obviously Dr. Lynda's generous offer of a free consult is free and no obligation. So
That's
please
right.
give it a go if you feel that way inclined.
That's right.
So thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
You're
And
welcome.
thank you for all the amazing work you're doing for our community.
You're welcome. And thank you too. I have gotten to listen to some of your podcasts and it's good fun. And I appreciate getting this opportunity. So thank you so much.
Pleasure. You're welcome back anytime. Thanks, guys. That's all we've got time for this week. We'll see you next week. See you later. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was fun.
Yeah, good. You're welcome.
Questions. Okay.
I will, as soon as Zoom sends me the link, I will forward it to you and you can do the editing. And
excellent. Well, fingers crossed some people reach out to us, to you. Please
yeah,
let us
that would be wonderful.
We'll certainly we'll include your website link in the bio.
Okay.
And I think you've got an Instagram page, so we'll I did a little bit of thought, so we'll give you a plug there as well.
Yeah, thank you. And do you know how far out you are on publishing?
Yeah, so it'll probably be a week from today.
Okay. If you can send me and Ashley, my helper, just a heads up, this is out, that'd be great. Then we can share it. We'll share it on all our social so that you get more visibility as well.